Welcome to another edition of UCF Football Now. I am Mike Bianchi, sports columnist of the Orlando Sentinel. You know who that is. He's the UCF insider, Jason Beede. He covers UCF like nobody else for the Orlando Sentinel and OrlandoSentinel.com. He was there in Memphis over the weekend. UCF, a big road when they actually went on the road. Way to go, UCF. Out of state, they won a game. That's a rarity thus far under the Gus Malzahn era, but they did win a big game, 35-28 over Memphis. Sets up the huge matchup with Tulane. All right, Jason, let's do a little report card on UCF's game against Memphis. First of all, how do you grade the offense?
Yeah, the offense overall, I'm going to give them a B+. Of course, Mikey Keene had an interception. They struggled at times early in the game, but as the game went on, they were really balanced. RJ Harvey ran the ball. He continues to run the ball aggressively, but also patiently. He had a 61-yard run. He had a great touchdown run where he kind of was dancing around in the backfield. So I just think the overall balance on offense, Gus Malzahn continues to say it, that's when they're the best. But some mistakes, couple sacks, of course, the turnover. So I'm going to give them a B or B+, I guess.
All right, what about the defense?
Yeah, the defense, it continues to hold strong in the red zone. A lot of yards were given up. I felt like Memphis maybe scored a bit too easy on their final drive. I was surprised. I think Gus Malzahn was surprised too that they didn't attempt an onside kick there after they scored so quickly. But my grade for the defense is probably a solid B as well, just because they did have 2 interceptions. They were a lot of penalties on one specific drive. I think they had 45 yards on one drive alone, a couple PIs. So they have a lot to clean up. But because of the turnovers, because of the stops in the red zone, that's what's going to win the game for you. So solid B for the defense as well.
All right, we did see a strange special teams play, taking that 64-yard field goal attempt out of it. How do you grade the special teams unit?
Yeah, I'm going to give them a C-. UCF has continued to struggle in the return game. Xavier Townsend has done a couple things here and there throughout the year, but this is continuing to be a trend for them. C- on special teams, just continuing to struggle in the return game.
All right, speaking of Gus, Coach Malzahn, he says we are not going to have a quarterback controversy, but Jason, I don't think it's up to the coach to determine whether there's a quarterback controversy or not. I think that's a fan media thing, right? I think we decide if it's a controversy. Do we have a quarterback controversy? Because Mikey Keene did get his first start of the season against Memphis, even though John Rice Plumlee was available to play. Should we read something into that?
I think it's important to remember that John Rice Plumlee did go 5-2 as a starter. They put up 70 points against Temple, even though it was Temple. John Rice has had moments of excellence and moments of not so excellence. So I do think there's a controversy whether Gus Malzahn wants to admit there is or not. It's also important to remember that John Rice was available, like you mentioned, but he really didn't get to practice until late in the week. I think that had a lot to do with the decision to start Mikey. Mikey really showed that, he's able to lead this team down the stretch against Cincinnati, and to have a full game like that under his belt, who knows who's going to start at Tulane. But to have that performance on the road at Memphis, some of the throws Mikey were making on critical third downs, that touchdown pass to Javon Baker, 24 yards, he placed the ball where only Javon could catch it. And because of that, I do think you have a quarterback controversy.
All right, I'm going to ask you flat out. I think they should go with Mikey Keene until further notice, until something happens that maybe they need John Rice Plumlee. What do you think? Has Mikey Keene earned the starting job?
Yeah, I won't go as far as to say he's earned the starting job just yet. I think, regardless of who's at quarterback, you have like Javon Baker and Ryan O'Keefe to throw the ball to, and maybe they can make some plays and make the quarterback look better than he really is. I did see limitations with Mikey throughout the game. Like I've seen limitations with John Rice. I think it's clear to everyone that Mikey Keene is probably the better traditional quarterback. But of course, John Rice Plumlee won the starting job for a reason. So I can't say exactly who should start or who shouldn't start, but it is hard to go against the hot hand right now. I'll give you that.
All right, heading into the big Tulane game on Saturday, we did have some injury issues over the weekend for UCF. Do we have any injury updates?
Not a whole lot of updates. We saw Quadric Bullard walk off the field in crutches in a knee brace. So that tends to be a sign that maybe he won't be able to be ready anytime soon. It's unclear exactly. Gus Malzahn didn't provide a whole lot of update on that. Jeremiah Jean-Baptiste, of course, got hit pretty hard by one of Memphis's tight ends. The player got ejected for targeting, and Jeremiah didn't return at the game. He was spotted after the game, with a towel over his head, watching the game from the sidelines. And then Devon Wilson, I think he didn't get hurt until late in the game as well, spotted on the sidelines late. And no updates on those three guys from either Travis Williams or Gus Malzahn. They're going to continue to take things day by day, as Malzahn likes to say.
All right, let's talk about the Tulane matchup. Two ranked teams. UCF, I believe in the latest AP poll, is ranked number 22. Tulane is ranked number 16. The game is at Tulane. It's going to be a huge game. Tulane actually favored by 1.5 or 2 points. I think that's fair when you look at the two teams' body of work this year. Tulane beat Kansas State. That's their signature win. UCF's signature win is against who?
Cincinnati, of course.
Cincinnati, that's right. So, yeah, they both have signature wins. Is it fair that UCF is an underdog in this matchup?
Yeah, I think it is fair. I mean, the fact that they traveled to New Orleans, I think teams should at home be favored, especially in the top 25 matchup. I mean, we talked earlier in the season when Tulane first got ranked, first time since 1998 that they're in the top 10 or top 25. My apologies. Maybe they'll be in the top 10 if they beat UCF. I don't know, but for this matchup, I think it's the first home matchup for Tulane, top 25. Both teams ranked since 1949. That maybe you read that game. I'm not sure, but it's going to be.
I was not there.
I think.
Shame on College Game Day for not being at this game in New Orleans, Jason. I mean, come on. You've got Tulane, who you just mentioned, that they don't get very many big-time games. This is a big-time game between two ranked teams, and they're in Texas. They're in Austin, Texas for the Texas TCU game. Weren't they already in Austin, Texas earlier this season for Alabama?
They were in Austin earlier this season. I think it has a lot to do with TCU and what they're doing. But if the game was at TCU, then that would make a lot of sense, right? I mean,
yes. I
just feel like this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Tulane. Tulane's campus isn't necessarily large, so you don't even have to do it at Tulane. I mean, how about Bourbon Street? How about Jackson Square? I mean, when Game Day went to Memphis in 2019, they did the show on Beale Street. I don't see why you can't do that. It just feels lazy on ESPN's part. I mean, if you're just going to say, well, TCU and we don't know much about Tulane, I think it's an opportunity to learn about Tulane and Willie Fritz and Michael Pratt, the quarterback they have. I mean, it just feels lazy on ESPN's part to go back to Austin again.
All right, let's do a little rapid fire, shall we? I've been on this all season long. I'm going to stay on it even though RJ Harvey is running well. What's happened to Johnny Richardson, my favorite offensive player?
Yeah, he's got the speed, but I just think he's had some problems seeing the field. He only had one run. I specifically remember saying that's probably his last for the afternoon. It was his one and only, -3 yards. So he's just having some trouble, and right now RJ Harvey is earning those snaps. Mike, over the weekend, Jeff Scott was fired at USF. Is that a good job in college football? I mean, what do you think about that job?
I think it could be a good job, especially I think it could be a good stepping stone job because let's face it, UCF, Cincinnati, Houston, they're all leaving the American. USF, if they get the right coach in there who can recruit the state of Florida, should be able to dominate that conference, in my opinion. If they could get somebody like, dare I say, Scott Frost returning to the state of Florida, I think that could be a plum job for a coach like Frost to rehabilitate his image. What do you think about that?
I mean, I don't know why. Why wouldn't you make that call? I mean, he's recruited in the area before. I think maybe there are better jobs for Scott out there. I could see him taking a year off, but I think if you're USF, you have to make that call and make him say no. Do you think UCF fans are enjoying the misery of USF, or do they feel sorry for this?
Come on, Jason, you went to UCF. You know UCF fans do not feel sorry for USF fans. Not in the least. No, they're relishing this, and they'll relish it even more the day after Black Friday, if and when they crush USF. Don't you agree?
Absolutely, I agree.
All right, we all know UCF moving to the Big 12. I don't have the countdown for the number of days this week, but next year they're moving into the Big 12. We see a Big 12 team, TCU, right now, even though it's been a shaky undefeated season. They've had to come from behind almost every week, but they are undefeated. They're probably going to be number 4, number 5 in the college football playoff poll. Is TCU a model for UCF when UCF heads into the Big 12 next season?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think our own Matt Marshall wrote about what happened for programs like TCU and West Virginia when they joined the Big 12 back in the day, and talk about the facilities and the fundraising and the media rights and what they were able to do. I think they had early success and then kind of leveled out, and now they're back up on the high again. So I think you talk about a school like TCU and the Horned Frogs and their social media presence. Absolutely, it's a model for UCF. We mentioned it earlier in the show, and now we have to go back to it. Mike, did you see that 64-yard field goal attempt that UCF tried?
Did I see it? I was watching on TV as it was going down at the end of the first half against Memphis, and I was, to quote Vince Lombardi, I was saying, what the hell is going on down there? So I'm going to ask you, Jason, what the hell was that about?
Yeah, it sounded like they didn't even mean to kick it. I'm not entirely sure why the ball was snapped to begin with. Gus Malzahn took responsibility for this, of course, saying he should have never sent them out there. The idea was to make the defense jump off sides, but why would the defense jump off sides when the other team is attempting a 64-yard field goal?
I have no idea. Yes, that was an ill-fated decision on Gus Malzahn's part. All right, Jason, who is our UCF fan or fans of the week?
Yeah, this fan of the week is a really cool one, I think. Her name's Sherry. She declared Paris, France, UCF territory. I think it was the day of the game. She was outside the Louvre and had a UCF, what are those? Not a hoodie, but a little thing to keep her head warm, I guess. The word's not coming to me, but she was repping a beanie. Thank you. She was repping UCF over in Paris, France. I just think that's really cool that UCF fans are everywhere.
There you have it. All right, that will do it for another edition of UCF Football Now. Do not forget, we drop every Tuesday on OrlandoSentinel.com. We also have our own YouTube channel. So tell your friends, tell 10 of your friends about it. Watch us because we love doing the show and we love keeping you up to date on UCF football. For Jason Beede, I'm Mike Bianchi, and we will talk to you next week for another edition of UCF Football Now.